Last episode, we went far away from home to transform a pillager mansion into a villager one. And I asked you guys for suggestions on what else we should do with the place, and while I got a ton of great answers, I realized we've kinda neglected our homestead a bit. Things aren't connected like how they should be, terrain looks rough around the edges, and the lack of a bridge to help get us out of our valley here is really starting to bother me. So here on day 99 with the sun going down, we're about to transition into day 100. There's no excuse for our base of operations to look this bare bones, so let's do something about it. To kick things off, I'd like to create a defined building area for our starter town, something that'll encase this nice little homestead we have going here, and to do that, I'd like to construct some walls alongside the edges of the lake. Since our build palette thus far has been mainly oak, pale oak, copper, and brick, I figured making a brick wall would be the most consistent choice while also keeping the colorful theme that we've got going. I set out towards our villager mansion because just nearby is a lush cave biome jutting out onto the surface, which is going to net us an insane amount of clay. And an insane amount of clay is just what we need, as I completely underestimated just how much you need in order to fund a build that takes a lot of bricks. Once I got back home and smelted all of the clay I had gathered, it was time to get to work. So the first thing I decided to do was to completely terraform an empty side of our valley into a brand new building spot next to the enchanting building. Using the bricks I had just crafted up, I constructed a wall alongside the lake and filled the area with brand new dirt to build on top of. This area is going to serve as a fairly huge wheat field with a little farmhouse in the middle. In my previous series, when making my town, I just went the safe and basic route and used path blocks to connect everything together. But this time, I want to do something more interesting. I've quite literally never built with, let alone crafted, a packed mud block or mud brick. So I think it would be fun to use those for our little town here. In order to make them, I'm going to need a ton of wheat, hence why I'm building this in the first place. Now, I did run out of seeds, so while waiting on my wheat to grow so I could harvest it and plant more, I decided to do more terraforming and wall building. I created two little pathways towards the lake in front, so in the future I can build both a dock and a bridge out here, while also building up a wall around our stable/animal farm so the terrain doesn't look quite as blocky and out of place like it did before. I also built a perimeter around the enchanting building and terraformed some of the land around it, and I'm super happy with the result. The balcony on the second story truly serves as a bit of a lookout point now, which makes me really happy. Once I was done, I then moved back over towards the wheat field to finish up our build. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if I should have a villager housed here, or maybe I should slap some copper golems inside to rummage around as if they tend the wheat field. Either way, I just wanted a building here so the wheat field wouldn't look incredibly out of place, and I'd say I accomplished that. It looks great thus far. At this point, I'd say our base is coming together quite nicely, though I will say that it does feel fairly empty, and I think a big part of that is, of course, the lack of roads connecting everything together. So now that my wheat field is fully planted and growing, I need to gather some mud blocks to combine with the wheat so I have some proper road building material. I had no idea how I was going to accomplish this, so after some research on YouTube, I came across this fantastic tutorial by 𝗏𝗡𝗏 on how to make a mud farm. And it's so easy that all you have to do is basically hold left and right click at the same time, and you'll get unlimited mud blocks, at least so long as you have enough glass bottles to craft and a bunch of dirt blocks to fuel it. And since I'm going to need an insane amount of glass bottles, I began mining up as much sand as I could possibly get my hands on. And even though we're 100 plus days into our forever world, the world at large is fairly unexplored right now, meaning I don't know where a desert is, so digging up sand around these lakes will have to do for now. For those that have asked for the world seed, by the way, that's also the main reason I haven't shared it with anybody. These videos are like a passion project for me, and I'm honestly terrified of the idea of someone loading up my world seed and spoiling information for me before I know it. For instance, last episode when I found that trial chamber in a cave below our base, it wouldn't have hit nearly as hard if someone went into the comment section and spoiled it for me or spoiled the coordinates. I really wish I could give you guys the world seed right now because so many of you ask for it, but just because some people like that are gonna do those things, I just can't do it. Though later down the line when we get more established in the world, I could see myself doing it and also giving out world downloads. Anyways, after a while of sand digging, it was time to actually build the farm. I decided that I would upgrade our main house by installing a basement and just placing the farm there. I'm not sure what else I'll add here in the future, so if you have any ideas, just let me know. I made it much bigger than what the farm needs, so I'll definitely need suggestions to actually fill it out properly. Using 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗏, I was able to make sure the farm would fit inside perfectly, and after finishing out the dig and decorating it a bit, it was time to actually use it. And after only a couple of minutes, I had multiple stacks of mud that I then converted into packed mud, while also making some mud bricks for textures and stairs. With that done, I could finally begin terraforming the terrain within our starter town for once, instead of all the areas surrounding the water. A lot of this was trial and error, and actually getting these roads built took a little over an hour because of messing up and rebuilding, while also needing to figure out just how I want the terrain to look and how it'll mesh with the new roads I'm laying down. Eventually though, I was fairly happy with how things turned out, and decided the only real thing that was missing from this transformation was a couple of decorations scattered about. I started out by getting some more spruce wood, and then created a really sick wagon design I found on Pinterest that looks like it's hauling hay bales from the wheat field we just built. I also set up a nice campfire area, as well as a setup for cooking food near the entrance to our little town here. I stacked up a couple of logs near the stables, and overall, I think it makes the area look a lot more lived in and homey, though I can totally see myself adding more decorations in the future. Okay, so I feel like at this point the video has been like 90% time lapses, and I do apologize for that. A lot of this has been fairly boring on my end and just really slow because I don't have really good enchantment, so actually terraforming this area took forever, but I think the end result is looking really nice. The before, whenever we didn't have these roads down and before we actually had the wheat field over there, you know, the area was looking pretty boring, but the after is looking fairly good. There's probably still some details I do want to throw around in this area, but overall, I am very, very happy with it. I'm super glad I decided to go with the mud roads as well. It was kind of a last second thing I decided on doing, but one thing that we absolutely have to tackle right now is the fact that, well, this road leads nowhere. And if we go ahead and go into free cam, you'll notice that, you know, this little village area, this little town we got going on looks great, but it's so disconnected from literally everything. Being able to have an easy way to get on over to this little mainland area here and out into the world is kind of a must. So it feels like we are going to have to build a bridge starting from here, at least on over to this little island. And probably I'm gonna have to terraform this as well. It's looking pretty rough. We'll probably have to throw some dirt and kind of fill in these little water ponds here. But aside from that, aside from terraforming this area, the biggest thing we need is a bridge. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that right now. And yeah, let's see how it comes together. Before I was able to start on our brand new bridge, I had to take a little bit of a break and indulge in some deforestation in a nearby oak forest. Once I finished up, I went ahead and began construction, and honestly, it ain't too bad. I feel like I'm pretty horrible at making bridges, but I just kind of designed it the same way I would do a house, and it worked out in the end. I just built it section by section. It gives us plenty of space to travel on top, while also looking sturdy and not too out of place. The bridge build, of course, was coupled with a bit of terraforming as well, since we do have to make it much easier in order for us to finally reach the mainland. Plus, I have yet another build I'd like to slap on top of this piece of land here once we get everything fixed up and looking good. Alright fellas, so I'm not gonna lie, things are coming together very, very well. I'm extremely happy with how things have gone thus far. I mean, our little town just looks so much better than how just empty and barren it was at the beginning of the episode. And now we have our own little road coming out to a bridge that we can then use to cross on over and get out into the wild. I also have this little piece of land set aside because I already know what next episode is going to be about. I'm not going to build here just yet, but it is going to be the Nether episode. I kind of thought about doing the Nether episode today, but I decided it was probably more important that we get up our starter town, you know, look at a little bit better than what it previously was. But I do know that next episode is going to be Nether themed, but before we end today's episode, there's still one thing that I want to do, and man, these guys are slow. There's still one thing that I want to do, and that is to address the elephant in the town, and that is this giant open cave with just randomly placed lava cauldrons, which have been sitting here for me to smelt things like bricks and ores and all that kind of stuff. It's just here for function. It doesn't really look good, and we kind of need to do something about that. Plus, anytime I go mining for materials, I just kind of run out into the wild until I find a cave, and I feel like having a dedicated mine shaft here is going to be the play. So I'm going to work on that. Actually, I'm going to work on one thing before I work on that, but this is going to be the major final thing that we work on in today's video to get our town up to snuff. So let me go ahead and get started on a small little side project, and then we're going to wrap things up with this mine shaft. And so that little side project I was talking about is of course the little dock that I had mentioned forever ago when initially building up the walls of our town. This area isn't meant to be anything special, just mainly an area for us to get fish from and to make our way into that little cove over there, which I have a special build planned for. Once that was done, however, I got started on our mine shaft. I wanted it to be much more than just a hole in the mountain and for it to have a proper structure sticking out towards the outside, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of that. Of course, a big thing for me was maintaining our lava generators, so I made a bit of a side hallway towards the back of the mine shaft for all of our lava needs, and then I just continued expanding the main room. I added plenty of storage, some details, some future rail tracks for minecarts, and I also added an upper area for a little lookout point since the cave system already naturally went in that direction. Overall, this looks much better than the previous eyesore of just being a hole in the wall, and I can't wait to add on to this mine shaft as the episodes go on. And now the cherry on top of the cake has been added. Of course, I also added a little dock over here, which I think looks fairly nice. It's very simple. We can use it for getting around in the water, maybe over to that cove over there, as well as fishing. But this right here, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. Like I said earlier, we didn't really have a dedicated mining area, and now we do. And I think it looks really cool. We have this little entrance here with the front walls being kind of made of stone. We come through. We have a little bit of a mining outfit right here with a clock on the wall, some shelves, and storage. I went ahead and maintained the lava generator, though I did kind of forget to put a chest right here to hold extra buckets, but that's okay. But yeah, if we go ahead and walk through here, you'll actually see that we have two minecarts set up. And so these are going to lead to two different tracks. This one right here is going to lead to diamond level for mining, and this one right here is going to lead towards adventure, hence the compass. And the main reason for that is because I'm just going to go ahead and use free cam so that this is faster. If we go ahead and go through this cave, you'll actually notice that this was the cave that in episode 1 we ended up finding this valley to begin with. So if we go ahead and fly all the way to the end through this cave, go through all of these twists and turns and yada yada, we actually come out on the other side where we mined our first ever ores and found our first ever village. So essentially, this rail right here is going to serve as a means to get to the other side of this mountain and out of this valley and in towards that area. But that'll be something that I'll have to add on to later because I'm not exactly, really pressed to do it right now. But we do have these rails and we do have our own little stairs. And then over here we have like a little watchtower area. Well, not really a tower, but kind of like a little lookout, and it looks really nice. I might kind of clean up some of these trees here, but I'll probably keep that one. But I'll probably clean up this tree so we can see a little bit better, but we can see out into that area where some future builds will be going. And then of course we just have some miscellaneous supplies. We got some wood for the people that are construct. There's a bee in here. We have an axe, sorry, for those that are going to be constructing mine shafts, and we have, a shovel and a pickaxe and some water just in case people get set on fire. But overall, I think this build is really cool. It's one of my favorites from today, but of course we did so much today. We built so many new things, from the mud farm to the wheat field to the mine shaft to the dock to the walls and the terraforming and the bridge. I mean, today, very build centric, very build centric. And next episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to focus on more exploration. We're going to go to the nether. We're going to experiment with some happy gas, which I'm very excited for. And I'm also going to start implementing a lot of your guys' feedback on the woodland mansion, aka villager mansion now. back in that direction. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you guys for watching all the way till the end of the video. I do apologize that this episode came out so late. With this being my Forever World series, obviously I'm not trying to force out episodes if I don't want to play. And it's not so much that I didn't want to play on the world, as there was just so much going on. Hytale had just dropped around the same time that I was recording this episode. This episode actually had like a 2-week gap between some of the recordings. And, you know, Hytale came out and I made some videos on that, had a lot of fun. And then I kind of got burnt out on YouTube because I had just been grinding so much. My wife and I have a honeymoon coming up, and your boys, you know, you've got to pay for it. But, you know, I got a little bit of YouTube burnout, so I decided to play some other games, which just recently 100%ed Fallout 4 on Steam, got all the achievements for that game. The new TV show has been great, so I kind of wanted to go back and play that. And yeah, now I'm back on Minecraft. I'm refreshed. I finished up the episode, and I'm extremely excited and already have the next couple of episodes planned out. So this hopefully shouldn't, you know, take nearly as long for the next episode. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all next time.